there's so many different like things to take into account with Scrap and Hydra playing together. Like, is it actually going to be beneficial for the team? So first of all, I think their S&D probably gets a little bit worse, I would say. Um, Scrap is like a respawn machine, but notoriously not that great in S&D. Hasn't shown crazy S&D prowess. I mean anyone could like shoot their gun or whatever, but like you could see on the mini map when people are playing like know what's going on in S&D like on some type shit, you know what I mean? But that's a side note. What I really want to talk about is just like the dynamic in hardpoint, because like a lot of this comes out to hardpoint. Control, I think they're gonna be super. You got Hydra and Scrap, literally two of the best three or four control players of the year on the same team. The slaying power is gonna be crazy. Control is honestly mostly kills, glorified TDM. There are plays that you make that can affect your team in terms of spawning, what spawns to block, all that stuff, pushes, when to push, when getting in kills, when to play your life. All that stuff still counts in control, but like overall, just the slaying power I think might take him to like a new level. But Sib was also very good at control as well. Like he was very good control stats. But in terms of hardpoint, like I've been playing with this for like a couple few days in my head. Like at first I thought it was gonna be worse, and then I thought it was gonna be better because you got to think about it. Because I talked about this in the Abusa Insight video, that 38 long minute video, whatever I did. Um, these two players, especially Hydra ain't hopping on no hill, and I picked this as like a perfect example game. Hydra gets 5 seconds in this game. He His job is literally to get kills, relieve pressure from the hill, break hills. That's his job. That's his job. And then you throw in another player like Scrappy. Scrappy's not gonna be on a hill in hardpoint and say, "Those guys, you go out. I'm gonna get the time." Ain't happening. Now you essentially have two green light players. Like the thing about Sib is like Sib is super good, but he can be a role player. He can plug himself in, and I think Black Ops 6 is actually going to be like a growing year for Scrappy. Like the same way Pred, because Pred went from being a green light player to now being on a team with like three basically superstars, had to learn to adjust. And I'm actually going to make a video on like the Pred S&D thing. I have a Pred S&D video in mind, but the point is, it took Pred time to adjust because on Seattle Surge, his job, I guarantee from accuracy, I don't know intel, but I mean, I know what the fuck I watch. Accuracy's like, you go off and roam. Go watch Vanguard. I watch Vanguard. Um, I watch Pred highlights and everything, bro. Every hard point, like 3 seconds in the hill. The only time he has time in the hill is if like they're contesting it, obviously, or if like the team's close to pushing and he's just in the hill holding an L trigger. But literally, majority of the time, he's just roaming, getting kills. That was his only job on Seattle Surge. Came onto an optic team where now he had to like, yo, I got a playmaker shot. See, I got people like shooting on this team. I can't have that same do it all mentality. I have another green light player. Shotzi's an automatic green light player, first green light player on any team. So I have to learn to adjust to that. Like I'm not gonna be the one doing it all, and if it doesn't get done by me, it's not getting done at all. Like took him time to adjust, be a role player. The same way Optic Dynasty, same thing. Karma, Slayer. He like that's probably the best example in Call of Duty history, honestly, in my opinion, of a player who played one type of way, got on a team with three superstars, willingly decided to play a different way and was still super good at it. Like a lot of people like use Karma as like the scapegoat, but they don't even understand. Karma went from being a flex, green light, do whatever you want player to like now letting Formal have that role and being more of a role player. Like even Krim talked about it too. Like him and Damon were basically the only ones doing objective work. But I mean that's just me going off on a tangent. So like this can be a growing year for Scrap in terms of him now seeing he has another green light player on his team, because he was literally the green light player on this team. Granted, Kleenex was also another aggressive sub, but like he still had role. Like every player still has roles, even the green light player, even Hydra. There's still fundamental team stuff you go over in practice that you're doing, but a majority of your role, Hydra's role, majority of the time, green light player. So now when you have two green light players on your team, what role do the other two play? Now I see, like, now the vision is now more clear than ever, because I thought they're probably going to drop KiSMET, but now if they get Scrap, it's probably a better idea to keep KiSMET, because now you got two green light super mega star slayers on your team. You need selfless players now. You cannot have a third. I mean, Optic Dynasty is the best example of you can't have fucking all four if like you actually fucking want, but I mean obviously you do need a player to do like the fundamentals. But you now have two superstar greenlight players on your team. You definitely need two like selfless players that like will do it all for the team, because now you have your kills, your slaying is solved. KiSMET and Skies are still good slayers, but like Hydra, Scrap, or like the next level. So like you have an overall good team there, and now you got, and I'm not sure if it'll affect, like now I think Sky's interactions might be going down even more. You got Hydra and Scrap shooting in front of you. Like I'm hopping on the hill, you know, I'm getting the spawns for you guys. You guys can go out and do everything. But yeah, that's like people need to take that stuff into account, because now I feel like it could affect KiSMET more or less. All depends how he adjusts to it. It's all adjusting. Like Hydra and Scrap being on the same team is going to be a lot of adjusting on everyone's side. Scrap's side, realizing he has another person basically doing what he's doing but with an SMG. It'd be better for him because now he knows he's going to have a consistent SMG. He doesn't have Envoy, who doesn't know what he's going to get. Kleenex most of the time does well, but a lot of the times this year, I mean, very inconsistent SMGs, and now he knows he has a consistent SMG, like 100% super consistent SMG on his team, so it will benefit him more in that way. But I mean, I'm curious what you guys think, because I think overall though, like my consensus is I believe they will figure it out. If they drop KiSMET and got someone else, highly I would highly doubt it more. Like even here on the flank, Egg say, why did they drop Sib and keep Skies, bro? Because you can't have Hydra, Sib, and Scrap on the same team. That would be good. And I mean, Sib's probably going to be playing like the slower role, but he's just an overall better skill player, I guess people would probably say, than Skies. But he's going to essentially be playing like the same role as Skies, but Skies just brings a different vibe, brings a different team cam. He's all about the team culture that they already have. Great friends with Hydra, so like that cam and that synergy is already there. Him and Hydra play very well with each other. Like that's why he's staying around. And then KiSMET's just like the plug. KiSMET's gonna be a good plug for all of this. And I overall feel like I know where Sib's coming from in terms of just like your pride taking a hit, because now it's like, oh, they thought they were upgrading by getting Scrap and not me. Like now he probably like I would feel some type of way too, bro. Like if I thought so highly of myself and like they thought they could upgrade for me, and like that's a salty feeling. That's a salty feeling. But I mean overall I think they're actually gonna do better this year. I think their S&D though is probably gonna take a hit though. Like I don't see Scrap improving their S&D from Sib, but I mean I could be wrong. I mean everyone can improve in S&D. It's not like you could be bad at S&D and you're just never gonna be good at it. But their S&D is probably gonna be like the one. I think it's going to be like an ultra problem from this year. Like your respawn is so good, and then your S&D struggles. S&D could be their Achilles heel with this new team. So that is my consensus on it. But overall, I do feel it's gonna be better in respawn if players are able to adjust. I mean, it's all about Scrap adjusting. It really comes down to Scrap adjusting and how Kiz and Skies now adjust to probably a more selfless role than they had, because like Sib was brought in to bring more firepower, but Sib is still a team player. Sib could still pull like 120 fucking seconds in the hill, you know, but like Scrap's not doing that all the time, you know. Like his job is to get kills. That's why teams pay him the big bucks. That's why he's a top 3 player in the league. They pay him to slay, and that's what he does. So I mean, let me know your thoughts on that. And now essentially we were kind of going to watch like the same map over again, but I mean I was just yapping that whole 10 minutes, but now I'm actually going to just bring in some gameplay stuff. Granted, I mean there's only one map out of every map throughout the year. But these are the kind of playstyle things I notice. But like obviously, once again, take into account it's one map out of like the whole year, but mostly pay attention to 3 and 5 and just like how different they play and how the whole flow of NYSL Cloud9. So sorry, it's NYSL just flows off the tongue. I don't know why. It's literally four letters, 4 syllables, but it flows off the tongue. I don't know, but you have to think about it. Like KiSMET, if we think about MW2, COD champs, Skies, KiSMET, how freely Kiz was able to play, how freely he was able to slay. Not saying you can't slay on a team with like other multiple superstars on it, but it does like lower that percentage, especially when these types of players are like, especially Hydra. So Hydra is the guaranteed green light. Scrap is a player that's going to have to adjust a bit, like I said, but like, is him having a more free role to slay, which is literally why they're bringing him in, is that not going to now diminish KiSMET a little bit? I would say I'm not so much talking about Skies because that main AR role nowadays is like is like such a special role that requires like a je ne sais quoi, and like it's not really affected by much else unless like your SMGs just aren't doing anything. Does KiSMET now slow down knowing that like Scrap is like another player like Hydra who has to play a certain way? Is that not gonna slow KiSMET down on the map, or do you think it's gonna open it up for him because now the kills are just freely roaming? But like even situations like this, because there are a lot of situations when NYSL plays. I'm just gonna go through it throughout the map, mostly focusing on number 3, number 5, but a lot of situations on the map. I mean, in hardpoint, like I don't really look at stats for this, like the OBJ per 10 minutes on breaking point, because like Sib has a 49, Scrap has a 56. But overall, I mean, there's a lot of times you watch hardpoint, like go and watch NYSL's hardpoints, and there's just a lot of times where like if it's not Skies on the hill, it's Sib on the hill. And KiSMET also gets on the hill, don't get me wrong. But like a lot of times Sib's on the hill allowing KiSMET to push out. How often do you think Scrap's going to like be on the hill and not tell like Kiz like, yo, you get on the hill, I'm pushing out? Like watch how number 5 plays compared to how number 3 plays, in sense of like this was probably like the most like glaring thing. This is just like a small thing on the map, but notice how one is like gung-ho for the hill and the other, whose job is literally to slay, like he's slaying away from the hill, not really focused on the hill. I mean obviously focus on the hill, but his job is to watch like the left side cut. But even just like this team dynamic, so like even stuff like this, even stuff like this when you have a person helping you on the, I mean obviously like they're breaking like the hill, but the most glaring part for me for that, even though they're on opposite sides, this could be me looking into it way too much. Like you got one guy over here doing his thing over here because his job, his mentality is literally getting cutoff kills. Same with Hydra. Hydra has 3 seconds in the hill. And then one guy is centered around helping his player break the hill. I just think about small things like that, and even things like this. Not saying Scrappy doesn't hold hills ever. This is why I'm saying this is like one game of like analysis, like talking about it. But you just like see like mostly paying attention to 3 and 5. I mean, I'm just gonna let this play through and just like sort of bring up what I'm talking about. Like even situations like this. I mean, not saying Scrap's allergic to the hill or anything, but like how often is Scrap gonna sit on the hill and be like, yo, KiSMET, like you push, be like, Kiz, you get on the hill, I want to be out there. Like look how often like Scrap also has 4 seconds in the hill, because his job is just going around like to get kills. So you could just like see, even if we're actually paying attention to the minimap this time, not even looking at the screen. I mean, even small dynamics like this, I mean, I've already explained these roles like so many times, even like scenarios like this. So Alder's on the hill, granted, so like he's actually pushing on and getting kills. Like not saying there's anything wrong with what he's doing, but just like these different types of things. He's basically not even focused on the hill. He's like, I got these people looking at the hill, and you have another guy like trying to go for the hill. And like honestly, even just like watching like even scenarios like this, these are like small, like granted one team's holding the hill and the other's not, but it's more of just like if you think about how Scrappy plays and how Sib inserted himself onto this Cloud9 team, and like how it would be if like Scrap was on this Cloud9 team, like just the dynamics are off. Because I notice a lot of times, like even if Sib's not on the hill, he's like supporting around the hill, always has something to do with the hill. Like if they have the hill, obviously like he'll be watching a pinch or whatever, but his play is just always around the hill. He's never off roaming unless it's like required. Like if they have full control of like a hill and your job is to push out, like make use of your kills, like stuff like that. But overall, I just noticed like you could just notice the playstyle. Like he's like never around the hill. Like obviously he's helping near the hill. I mean it's P1, but he's outside the hill like slaying, getting kills outside, and you just see number three like even throughout this game, even if you're watching the mini map while I was yapping for that first 10 minutes, three is like always like supporting, like they get on the hill if they have it around it, holding it. I mean, I noticed this stuff. It's like five's more of a roam around, get kills. Three, like, how is this dynamic going to affect KiSMET? I'm curious. I actually don't have a solution. I mean, I don't have an answer for this until I actually see it, which is why I'm asking these types of questions, honestly. And I'm not gonna lie, I saw this play and it actually made me go back on like the whole game. So I'll even like kind of even like scroll back as like I watch this, but like even seeing like this setup right here. So whenever like a new hill pops, obviously you got Sky main OBJ, you know, doing his thing. But like this setup made me wonder, seeing Sib and Skies here made me think, how many times this game did I see Scrap like setting up at new with a teammate? As opposed to when his team had control of the hill, he was like the island player off, like getting spun. Because that could be his role on the team. Like, this is me talking about it because I don't know what their roles are on the team. I don't know what teams' game plans are, but this is stuff I'm taking into account, like going into like this new year, if Scrap goes, or when I should say when at this point, when Scrap goes on to Cloud9, and just like the teamwork aspect. I mean, not saying like he's not a team player, but like him and Hydra are basically the exact same player. And we're about to find out if these two superstars could actually mesh well. But the whole point is, like, I see Sib, like a lot of these new hills set up, you know, with his teammate, like waiting till he get that opening. And it made me think, how many times did I see Scrap this game when Ultra got hill control first? So like I actually went back. I mean, there's this hill. I mean, so this new hill's popping. He's over in mid. You know, he's over in mid getting kills. This hill pops. Like, they didn't really have much fucking points this game. So, I mean, not really. It's not going to be hard to fucking find the hills that they broke down. So then I actually looked into this hill. So they had this one. And, like, take a look where Scrap is when, like, they're setting up. Like, where is he when like the hill pops? He's like over there. And notice the two guys near the hill, Envoy, Insight, the two like selfless OBJ type players, island players, Scrap over there. What the heck's another hill that they had control of like this game? Granted, this is just one map. Like, I should probably go actually watch another map and go see. I mean, probably get the exact same result, to be honest. But and like they got that kill, he's chilling over here. And I'm just curious. So you even watch stuff like this, like how I think Sib slotted very well into this team. And if they don't do good in Black Ops 6, I'm actually be one of those people that like, you shouldn't have made a roster change, because Sib's such a good player, but he knows how to be a role player because he had Pred on his team in Vanguard. So he has that experience allowing someone to be the green light player. Like, he knew how good he was in that game. So he's probably, I mean, he was like the second green light player on that Vanguard team. Like, Accuracy and Mac did a majority of the OBJ work, but he knows what it's like to play with a superstar whose like job isn't to get on the hill. So he knows how to be a selfless player. Scrap hasn't had to do that yet. In Challengers, he was the kill whore, he was the slayer, he was that person, came into the league that exact same player. So he's always been that green light player. So this Black Ops 6 is going to be a crazy adjustment, and I'm hoping it works out good for him. I mean, like, we're really about to see a player mature in front of our eyes, either mature or them just slip back to bad habits. This is either going to go really well or really bad. Curious if the rest of D is going to be good as well. But I mean, you even saw it the whole time, bro. Literally, number three, number four, just there the whole time holding the hill. I'm like, Scrap ain't doing that. Like, Scrap ain't doing. I mean, he would. I mean, in a scenario like this, when you're like about to win, like not saying he wouldn't, but I just like think about shit like this and how he always plays like the island away from the hill, helping his team like away from the hill. How the whole dynamic is now changing because it almost like slots KiSMET and Skies into more of a OBJ role. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Something I like to do to like really prove my point because like it might be a little bit different critiquing the matches when they're both playing against each other, but to find out these true top four teams play style is like look at the games when they play like noobs, because then you know basically what almost everyone's role is on the team when they're playing noobs, because like they're actually just playing their game. And I mean, I'll go through like a couple, but this is like pretty much like vintage, like if everyone's playing the roles correctly, like he's still slaying high, but like take a look at the hill time and like KiSMET Hydra are allowed to roam more. Like that's like the ideal stat line. Like this probably describes NYSL's play style, or Cloud9, I guess you want to say. Now I'm so sorry. I'm gonna keep messing that up until next year, but this basically almost like describes it perfectly. Sky's majority of the hill time, least interactions, because I mean he's got three players doing everything. Skies, or I mean, Sib has a lot of interactions, but he has the hill time when Skies doesn't. Hydra with the least. Like this is like the perfect um barometer of like Cloud9 when like everyone's playing like the role. This is like the perfect score line, like of like everyone playing their roles the way that they probably envision it playing, like with the hill time and everything. This is like describes it perfectly. This scoreboard right here. So now let's go on like a different game where like the stats might be a bit different, but I mean it's not gonna be like that every game. So when I show you like a scoreboard like that, when it's like two SMGs with like the least hill time, isn't gonna be like that every game. Every game scenario is different. Like there's multiple getting hill. It's not like two people just aren't allowed to like touch the hill, you know? So like even a game like this, like he has less hill time, but you wanna know like now these ones have more hill time. Like everything changes, but it's pretty much around like the same thing ideally wise, you know? Like this is probably like around what they'd probably go for with like Scrap, like in terms of like time on the hill and everything. But I mean, situations change. Like when you're breaking hill, like if you're just the person that's there at the hill breaking the hill, you know, all that stuff's different. So like take what I'm saying with like the scenario, because that's how I'm describing. I'm not describing it all in general. I know all the different scenarios and different maps. Like the whole time and everything's not gonna be like the same every game. Like there was a game where Scrap had there was a game against Optic where Scrap had 121 minutes in, or 121 seconds in the hill, inside at 4, and they lost to Optic by like 100 on Karachi. Like that shit's backwards, and that's an anomaly. Guarantee that stat never happened again. Um, so now we're on these guys. So like you can even pull this up against like a noob team. So like Stallions. I mean, 6 star. I mean, there's more time just on the hill with the way the map is now with fucking P1, P2, P3, and P4. Like, there's more time just hitting on the hill, but yeah, as like the least amount of time. Let's open up like a game like LAG where they 3-0'd them. You'll probably see a more clear like this one's more clear. Like you kind of see more like least amount of. Damn, 1 second, nigga. Damn, hop on the hill, bro. 0.59, not getting on the hill. But yeah, just showing you examples like that. But I mean, how is their team dynamic going to work? I mean, I guess I think they'll be fine if Scrap could adjust a bit to like being like. I think it all comes down to Scrap kind of going, but they have to know when they're getting Scrap though. Like you don't get a player like that go out of your way to like move part oceans to get this guy to make him change. Same thing with Optic and Pred. Like they knew what they went through to get Pred, so they're not gonna make him like completely change his playstyle, you know. So it's like they have to get him knowing what they're going to get and how they're going to adapt. Obviously, there's going to be adapting on both sides, but it has to be more on their side than Scrap's side because they're going out of their way to get him, you know? Like, Scrap could join any other team he wants, so it's not like maybe a situation with Sib where they picked him up from Seattle Surge. Like, you should be grateful to be on our team, you know? Like, we're COD champs, you know? Like, this is a different scenario. So this is just like an extra point to add on to like my P1 point. So take a look what Sib does off spawn here, and I'm curious if like Scrap would do like the same thing. I'm not saying he can't, but like these are the questions I have going into Black Ops 6. Like obviously I could see him doing this sometimes, like even for Envoy, Kleenex. Like I'm sure he's done it in all the games that have happened, but I'm choosing this one example on Sib, just the type of player Sib is. He's a team player. Like, granted, what he's brought in for more firepower, but he's still a team player. So here off spawn, KiSMET being able to push up and the number 3 going on the hill. I mean, granted, it's just a scenario, like, because Hydra's already pushed up. 4 wanted to get the long range. Do you think Scrap is going to be that player? Like, this is me just posing a question, not saying he would not do this, because in this situation he's literally the last one off spawn, so he kind of has to. But I'm giving you guys theoreticals to think about, you know, like let's spark a debate.